Yes, we talk weekly from Mason Transit, and it's Christina Fremont from the Mason Transit Authority. Good morning.
Good morning, you two.
How you doing?
Good, thank you. I'm just getting back from vacation, so I'm doing pretty good.
Were you able to use public transit on your vacation?
I did, actually. I introduced my niece, who's visiting from Texas and is 3, to inner city transit, and she thought it was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
But mostly I went camping up at Lake Quinault, so.
I like it when you get the kids involved. And how's Lake Quinault these days?
It was beautiful.
Did you get in the water? Or?
No, thunderstorms, lightning. It was a little rainy. I was in the rainforest. I forgot about the rainforest part of Lake Quinault. So.
Can you get up to those parts of the Olympic National Forest via transit?
Yes, you can, actually. If you start with Mason Transit and ride our Route 8 up to Brennan and then meet up with Jefferson Transit, there's ways to get all around the Olympic Peninsula, same with Clallam, or to get to Lake Quinault, which I did not know was considered Grays Harbor, by the way.
Oh.
Yeah. I saw a Grays Harbor Transit sign out there, and I was like, what?
Must be right at the tip of the
I think it is. But guess what? It's served by transit.
Yeah.
So Grays Harbor Transit serves that. And we connect with Grays Harbor Transit in Olympia. So you would ride our Route 6 and then transfer over to Grays Harbor's Route 40, go down to Aberdeen Hoquiam, and then catch it's their route. I forget what the sign said now that I think about it, but I was still just flabbergasted. I mean, even like Lake Crescent, all of those really gorgeous Olympic National Parks areas you can get to by bus. You'd be really surprised.
We were giving out some travel tips today, and one of them was to use public transit when you're out and about in new areas.
Oh, yeah. It's a great way to get to know a community. It's a great way to see stuff. I've got 3 things I always do when I travel, which is, of course, look up the public transit. I always go to the public library, and I always go to the local college if there is one.
Huh, cool.
Yep. My opinion, you can tell a lot about a community by what books are displayed automatically when you walk into a public library on the table right there. It says a lot about the community. 2, they have a public billboard. You will find really cool events that aren't in the tourist brochures. Same with the community college. I always go to their public billboard, and you always find the really cool shows or plays or things like that that aren't the touristy stuff and are really just part of that community. And that's what I'm into when I travel. I want to know about the local community and not the touristy stuff. I see all that stuff on postcards. I'm cool. And I'm not really big into huge crowds, which is funny because I'm into public transit and you're with crowds lots, but traveling not so much.
Wow, those are some great little tips.
Yeah. I should start a tip blog on travel maybe.
Last week we had Mike Oliver on, and he was talking about park and rides. We focused a lot on the Shelton Matlock Park and Ride.
Right. So we have 2 projects going on, and what he was talking about was all grant funded and for fixing up all the park and rides and building new. And I know that he mentioned a little bit another project, and the reason I'm separating them is the funding and the type of projects they are is different. Park and rides have a very specific definition and triggers specific requirements from the federal and state government because it's grant funded that we're doing that. This other project we have is something that we've taken on ourselves with input from the community up in North Mason, and that's putting in a parking area up off Roy Bode Road. We've talked about a little bit before. It's not grant funded. This is something where the community came to MTA in North Mason and was like, hey, we really need a parking area for transit users and just for general public who want to get on transit. The one that we currently have up there, it's behind the Belfair Assembly of God, and Highway 3, as you know, is incredibly difficult to turn off onto, and especially if you're going to turn left out of that. And so it's while it's great and it does get used, it's definitely not the most convenient, if we're going to be honest here. And so the community came to him today and was like, hey, we really need this. We were trying to wait until we could complete a new one. But the reality is it's still going to take another couple years. And so the community was really persistent, and we said, okay, we're going to do this. And so we are doing a temporary lease for, I believe, about 2 years, maybe 3, until the new park and ride is built, to have this public parking area created. And it's on Roybode Road behind Safeway. And the difference between parking area and parking ride it's big to note that difference. But for the public, it's free, it's open to be used, it's lit, I believe the owner of the property has done a really good job of getting it prepped and ready for folks. That opens next Friday, cool. July 1st, in time for summer and summer events. Currently, our routes are not directly serving that parking area, but our worker driver and van pool, so our commuter services will directly serve that, because that's kind of the impetus behind this, is get the commuters out of business parking areas and get them over there. Eventually, we're hoping to reroute our routes that serve the Belfair area to be serving that location as well. We're actually going to be having a ribbon cutting ceremony because the folks up in North Mason are super excited about this. Our board is really excited. One of those things where, again, just the community spoke up and we were able to respond. And so we're also excited. I don't have the time of the ribbon cutting right now, but I will have that next week on Wednesday if folks want to come.
Additionally, we're talking a lot of transportation, paving projects and construction out. Summertime is the time to do that. Is that impacting any of your routes?
Yes, it is. You guys did a fantastic article, I think, just this last week, talking about the paving project that's been happening on Lake Boulevard, Pioneer, up on the Turner Hill area. So our Route 5, which is, we call it the Route 5 South Loop, it kind of actually does this figure 8. We can't take the big bus up there, and our Route 5 is definitely one of our most popular routes, which is why we use a big bus. So what we're doing in order to still serve our customers, but also, you know, be considerate of the paving going on and not taking a big bus up there, is we're going to be running a mini shuttle. And so for the customers, what it looks like is that if they're boarding a bus prior to the Transit Community Center, at the Transit Community Center, they'll be asked to transfer to a smaller bus. So if they're boarding at the transit center and they're wanting to go up to the Turner Hill area, they're not going to get on a big coach. There's going to be a small white bus that says special shuttle, and it's going to take people up to those places. Again, there's going to be no change to service times.
Oh, good.
We're going to run it the same. We're just basically splitting the route into serving half of it with a smaller bus and then the other half with a larger bus.
Oh, that's a good
so
idea.
Little impact, but, you know, people who are used to a routine, it might seem confusing. So, you know, we're going to have some extra folks on shift, making sure that people get where they need to go appropriately. Our drivers are really in tune to it, and we're encouraging folks, if they use the Route 5, when you get on, just tell the driver where you're trying to go, and they're going to make sure that you can get where you need to go. And that's the only one that I know of right now that's impacting our service directly. We typically find out like 5 days ahead of time because it's so driven by weather. So I wish we had more notice to give people, but there is a rider alert available on our website. It was also posted on our Twitter and Facebook account, and it's got an actual map and then some other stuff in our contact information. So it's Facebook, Mason Transit, or Twitter at Mason Transit if you want to find us. And our website is masontransit.org. And then switching topics, but still kind of talking about transportation, of course, because it's what I do. Our interim general manager presented last week for the Chamber of Commerce. It's a presentation to the community, and in prepping that presentation, I was looking up some interesting facts for the community to learn about. And one of the things I thought was interesting enough to share is, okay, so this is our 24th year. It'll be our 24th year. We have provided over 8 million rides.
What?
In 24 years, as of last year.
Wow.
That's not including this year. Over 8 million rides. Last year, we provided 578,000 plus, almost 579,000 rides. And that's across, you know, all of our different transportation services. Out of that, 92,000 was specific to commuters. And I know we talked before about our van pool and worker driver, but I think that's really cool to know that we pull anywhere from 200 to 300 cars off of highways Monday through Friday during commuter times.
Wow.
92,000 rides. Yeah, I thought that was really neat.
Good one.
So So I thought folks might like that one. That was my random fact for the day.
I like it. Well, let's leave it on that high note, and we'll get you back next Wednesday at this time to talk more.
Thanks, guys.
Christina Fremont from Mason Transit Authority. It's 8:28 here at iFiber One News Radio.